Hello everyone, my name is Zainab. 7 courtyards, 12 minarets, an area of 1 million square meters with a capacity of 700,000. Welcome to the holy shrine of Imam Reza, peace be upon him. Though one of the many Middle Eastern sites dedicated to the descendants of the Holy Prophet, it is the largest mosque in the world by area, surpassing even the Kaaba, and as someone who has seen both personally, there is no comparison to the internal reflection which occurs as you step into the capacious halls. I've been going with my family since I was young, yet I never ceased to feel an overwhelming sense of awe walking into the building. Gazing up the towering walls, watching the flags fluttering lazily in the slow, cool wind, it's impossible not to feel dwarfed by the sheer scale of the site, enhanced by the constant bustle of pilgrims. Sitting in the many courtyards, the rustle of fabric during silent prayer, I often feel confronted by my own spirituality, constantly reminded of life beyond death by the vibrant colours, calligraphed quotes, and the great golden dome around which the building is centred. Situated in the heart of Mashhad-e-Iran, the site is a centre of grandeur and architectural wonder in the Shia Islamic world. Most key, however, it is the mosque dedicated to the 8th generational grandson of the Holy Prophet. Imam Reza spent his time on earth dedicated to spreading the knowledge of his ancestors, trying to keep the true essence of Islam alive. His own life was riddled with sorrow and ended with a poisoning, a last desperate attempt by the Caliph of the time to wipe out the Imam's message. But little did he know what that story would come to represent today, both in the physical beauty of his shrine and the spirituality of his message. He could not foresee the beauty and wonder which would flow from his attempt of destruction. The name Reza itself means the content one, and it's this same innate peace and contentment conveyed in the design of this architectural wonder. Initially constructed in 818, the site was wiped out by the Ghaznavid king as his regime took the country. Not long later, however, his own son ordered its reconstruction, of which, like much of the Ghaznavid architecture you see on the screen, not much remains, past the influence it had on later recreations. For example, his introduction of the 4 Ivan floor plan survived each redesign. This refers to the large vaulted halls enclosed on 3 sides yet open to the court using tall archways. It's this plan which connects the 7 courtyards and evokes that ever-present feeling of awe, along with the shapes of the domes and minarets so synonymous with Islamic architecture, which can be traced back to Ghaznavid times. Following on, during the Mongol invasion, the shrine was used as a site for refugees, was repeatedly attacked and almost destroyed. However, it wasn't long before hope was rekindled, as a religious leader made a shocking conversion to Shi'ism and ordered the expansion and renovation of the shrine, embellishing it with elegant porcelain tiles and marble work. More than all who came before, however, it was the Safavids who delivered the cultural shift necessary for the shrine we see today. Through them, Iran became a center of art, architecture, poetry, and philosophy, all of which are intrinsic in the shrine's creation. Painting, as adorns the walls through intricate floral and geometric designs, metalwork seen in the crafting of each individual gold brick to replace the dome's initial gold tiling, and textiles, seen in the oriental carpets lining every hall and courtyard, reached a new height of perfection under Safavid rule. The Safavids developed a system of strict symmetry, placing emphasis on geometric patterns and mathematical precision. After all, if God's creation was perfect and precise, a shrine dedicated to one of his most revered messengers should reflect that perfection and precision, the aesthetic harmony between creation and creator. Now, while aesthetic harmony is wonderful to contemplate in principle, if the history of the shrine is to tell us anything, it's that the world is riddled with pain and discordance. The constant cycle of the shrine's destruction and reconstruction tells an ever-repeating story of conflict and war. Yet, there's another theme which carries through the site's history and lives on in the shrine today, and that's hope. The site has always been a shining beacon of beauty, safety, and refuge. No matter the inevitable consequences of war, it has emerged from the rubble, grander and more decorated than ever before. Imam Reza's shrine is a mosaic of artistic influence from across the Middle East and tells the same story of contrasting pain and beauty. The Mesopotamian influence, inspiring the simplification of painting flowers as 2D, contrasted with the harsh yet perfected lines of Molde Muqarnas, suggests an interpretation of man's superiority over the natural world. It implies a simplicity in the world around us, which can be shown in flat shapes and single colors, while boasting the intellect, innovation, and creativity of man. It shows the conquering of the natural world, how we attempt to bend it to our will by constructing over it. Equally, the ever-present natural elements beg the interpretation that nature is constant and God's work cannot be overcome by mere force. It's a reminder of the beauty which lives on past our violence. Additionally, it represents the bridge of both worlds, where architectural precision can meet with the unpredictability of nature to form a balance. Once again, that aesthetic harmony of creation, a constant reminder of man's small place in God's world. Ever present as the florals is the distinctive lapis lazuli color so widely associated with Persian art. Once worth more than gold, ground into a powder to produce its deep medium blue, its use under sheltered and shadowed domes and arches, lengthening the crevice it occupies, forms a stark contrast to the brightness of the mirrored halls and open sky. Islamically, this blue, sometimes referred to as the perfect color, was made to represent the heavens and a spiritual transcendence. Its use to raise ceiling constructions and extend doorways represents the distance between us and the skies. It's this feature, this specifically chosen color, which provokes the internal reflection all viewers feel as they walk into the building. Gazing into the melancholy dome, the allure of a world beyond forces me to contemplate my brief presence in life. For me, the color represents the religious tradition of seeking a place in the next world, enhanced by the Arabic calligraphy often set against it. Another example of how something which could initially suggest hurt can evolve into something more beautiful than expected. I think it's also important to observe the site through an architectural lens. Having been erected between the 11th and 13th centuries, yet still standing today, it combines a unique floor plan with staple landmark features of Islamic architecture. The 12 minarets, while made for the call to prayer, are symbols of strength and hope. Towering over the rest of the site, they seem almost like protective figures, keeping a watchful eye over the pilgrims gathered in the open courtyards below. The shrine's building itself only covers about a quarter of the site's area, but it's here that the most distinctive feature of Islamic architecture can be observed. The Great Golden Dome, a staple of religious buildings, especially in the Middle East, the circular shape represents perfection, eternity, and the heavens, complemented by the transcendent feeling which comes from the blue tiles and Arabic calligraphy forming a band around the dome's circumference. This is reinforced by the reflective nature of the gold, which can symbolize divine light and splendor. For me, this reflects the majesty and purity of not only Imam Reza, but of Islam as a whole. Occasionally, however, I find myself conflicted by the alternate meanings of gold. It's a symbol of opulence and wealth, associated with royalty, and cannot be separated from the concept of elitism. As someone who has seen a fair share of Europe's own architectural marvels, the gold of Imam Reza's dome reminds me of the gilded coving and gold cresting in palaces the likes of Madrid, Versailles, and our very own Buckingham. There are occasions when the scale of the wealth of the site forms such a stark contrast to the desolation of current Middle Eastern conflicts, it seems akin to the economic divide between the court of Louis XIV and the French middle class, which catalyzed the French Revolution. It seems almost callous to flaunt such wealth in a place not only of worship, but of mourning and of pain. And I've struggled to come to terms with these two faces of my faith. In today's world and news, there's one face which always rears its head, that of war, of conflict, of terror. There are many who try to interpret religion as a way of control, of accumulating strength and power. At times when I'm drowning in stories of oppression, stories which I know in places to be true, redemption can feel almost impossible. But that's the beauty of places like Imam Reza's shrine. The building brings an ultimate peace to all who reach it, a spirituality unmatched anywhere else. Entering its courtyards, passing under the arches, you feel as if you've been welcomed into a warm embrace. On the site, I've felt disconnected from the world around me, as if nothing can touch me while I'm within its halls. And I believe this is the emotional result of the second face of modern Islam, that being what Islam was always meant to represent, and that's beauty and hope, especially in times of wider conflict. It's about finding light amid darkness, and Imam Reza's shrine has been that light. It's a center of hope, intellect, and community. It represents what we can achieve by uplifting our ancestors, bringing their stories and sacrifices to the forefront of our lives today. Because there has always been, and there will always be, pain and conflict. There will always be misinterpretations and those who wish to use religion as a way of control. But instead of focusing on that darkness, Imam Reza's shrine is my, and now your, reminder to look for the light, to look for the beauty no matter the pain, and to find peace in life, as I find when I'm sat in the open courtyards, gazing up with the feeling I can only describe as awe. Thank you.